Yeah, cool. So, yeah, I guess we can start again. Hopefully it doesn't crash this time. Anyway, you asked me like how I would define philosophy. Like I can give you like a working definition, but like I don't really have like a strong philosophy view about what philosophy actually is. But like I can give you sort of like a working definition that it's basically like a discipline of asking and answering questions. Um, and like what kind of questions you're asking determines what kind of domain we are talking about. Like if you're asking questions about like the nature of reality and stuff like that, then roughly it comes under metaphysics. If you're talking about like um, knowledge and how we form beliefs and stuff like that, then we are talking about epistemology. If you're talking about like what's good or bad, we are talking about like ethics. um, if you're talking about like argumentation, uh, then we're in the domain of logic. If you're talking about like what does it mean for something to be like beautiful or ugly, then we're talking about aesthetics. And then if you're talking about like what's like the perfect you know state or something like that, or society or something like that, then we're talking roughly about politics. But the idea is, yeah, there's a lot of overlap between a lot of these because um, like even when you're talking about like um, politics, or even if you're talking about if you're talking about ethics, if your question is like, what do people generally uh, you know take to be right or wrong, that's sort of like an empirical question. um, and to get to the answer to that question, you're going to consult logic and epistemology and something like that. So you'll be using logic to like make to carry out reasoning. You'll be using epistemology to like figure out what's the best experiment that'll answer your question, stuff like that. um,
Cool.
so yeah.
And what did you mean when you said I don't have a very strong meta philosophical understanding of philosophy? I think you said meta
Meta, yeah.
philosophical
So
or meta.
yeah, so whenever you see meta, it just like you can roughly take that to mean about. So when I say meta philosophy, it's like about philosophy. So any view that is about any philosophical view about philosophy itself is a meta philosophical view. So for example, what is philosophy? If that's the question you're asking, then you're talking about like meta philosophy.
Mm, I
Yeah.
see.
And if you're like, oh, are the current philosophical methods adequate or something like that, then again you're talking about meta philosophy.
Cool,
Cool.
I got that.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, we are talking about. Wait, did I start the recording? I did. Okay, good. Yeah. So, yeah, we were talking about formal logic. So, we've already talked about what logic is. It's just like the study of arguments. And formal logic just means that you have uh, sort of rigorously constructed some kind of system, and then you're performing operations within that system. That's why it's generally called formal, which usually refers to something like there being some strict form to the entire system. So formal logic generally has like, okay, it's like there's like propositional logic, um, there's first order logic, um, and there could be like second order logic. So these are all like generally considered first order logic, propositional logic. This stuff is usually considered like classical logic. Right. And the reason it's called classical logic, well, I'm not, by the way, I'm not excluding, so I'm not excluding second order logic, okay? I'll just clarify that. So these things generally are called classical logic. There are some non-classical logics as well. Maybe we'll talk about that later. So there are non-classical logics like logic of paradox, um, paraconsistent logic. Um, yeah, there are a lot of like non-classical logic, and what separates classical logic from non-classical logic is the rejection of one of the laws of classical logic. It could be one or more.
What was
And
the second type of non-classical logic? It's
paraconsistent logic.
paraconsistent.
Yeah. And we'll get there, like like maybe it's not within the scope of propositional logic to discuss this, but the idea is that classical logic has three laws, uh, and if you construct a formal system of logic that rejects at least one of those three laws, then you're talking non-classical logic territory. um, but as far as propositional logic is concerned, we are not rejecting any of the three laws. So we'll get there. What the laws of logic are, we'll get to that stuff eventually. But right now we are talking about propositional logic, and we already know what logic is. Logic simply is the study of arguments. But then the question is, what is an argument? Um, or more importantly, I guess we'll get to this part later. We'll first talk about what a proposition is, because it's literally in the name, right? It says propositional logic. So we need to discuss what a proposition is. And so the idea is, in the English language, we have a bunch of we have like sentences, we have like statements, right? So we have like English. I mean, it doesn't have to be English. Maybe like this applies to basically any language. I don't think it's specific to some kind of like language. But the idea is you have like sentences or like statements. And according to like English grammar, I'm not sure if there's like an analogous system in your language, like similar grammar. But like in English grammar, we have like a bunch of statements. Like you could have like a question. So this is like an interrogative statement. I guess I'll just skip on the statement because it's taking up too much space. um, but yeah, you have questions, then you have like exclamations, and this is just called exclamatory sentences or statements. Um, then you have commands. This will be imperative. And then you have propositions. we'll go through each of them. Like I can show you what a proposition is by showing you what is not a proposition. That's one way of showing what something is. So we know what a question. So like if I ask you, how are you, Patrick? That's like it's a statement. Like it's an utterance, but it's like I'm asking you something. So that's an interrogative type of statement. If I say Patrick is a nice, Patrick is so nice, um, or something like um, hooray. So that will be like an exclamation. If I say Patrick, well, yeah, forget about the Patrick is nice example. Uh, yeah, but if I say like something like a hooray or like oh my god or something like that, that's like an exclamation. Then we have commands like go there or don't talk to me. Those are like commands. So those are like imperative statements. So these three are not propositions. So what is a proposition? So proposition is a type of statement that can take on a truth value. Takes on a truth value. So a proposition simply is something, is like a statement that can be true or false. Like, yeah, assuming classical logic, we are talking about statements that can either be true or be false. So, you follow that much?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I know you get it, but I'll just like, for the sake of like practice, I'll just give you like a few things, and then I'll ask you which one is a proposition, which one isn't a proposition. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So let's say I say, oh my God, what would that be?
That'll be an exclamation, I'm guessing.
Okay. Would that be a proposition?
That'll be not a proposition,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay. So, okay, if I say, how are you doing today?
That would be a question.
That would be a question. Would that be a proposition?
How are you doing today? I guess, well, no.
Okay. And if I say, write it down, would that be a
That would
proposition?
be that would be a command, an imperative,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So over here, this entire thing, these are not propositions. And this, obviously, because it says proposition, of course, this is a proposition. So this thing, all of these are not proposition. So for instance, you could be like, like even even when doing like vegan debates or something like that, you ask people for like to state a proposition, and what they'll often do is they'll ask you a question. Oh, why do you vegans not care about crop deaths, or something like that? Like that's not a proposition. That's a question, and like this happens a lot. Like whenever we are talking about like setting up debates and stuff like that, there's usually somebody who'll, instead of giving an argument, will either like ask a question or say something like, oh, vegans are so terrible or something like that. um, well, vegans are so terrible could just be a proposition as well, but it's like they mean it in sort of like an emotive way rather than as like a proposition. So the idea is, um, you evaluate statements. You just take the, like, can this be either true or false? And if the answer is yes, then it is a proposition. So for something like, um, the sky is blue, it can either be true or false. um, the sky is green, that can also be true or false. In fact, it's like always false. At least like unless you're talking about um, some specific place in the on the planet where you can see green skies, or like something like that. Apart from that, generally speaking, it's already um, it's always false. So regardless of whether it's false or not, or whether it's true, that statement is a proposition. And so that's just what a proposition is. It can take on a truth value, and that's what we will be studying under propositional logic. So you follow that much?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think I'm following so far.
Okay. So I guess we'll come here. So we've established what a proposition is. We have established what logic is. We have okay. Well, logic is just study of arguments. Now what we need to do is to sort of like have an understanding of what an argument is, because like of course like if you're going to be studying what logic is, and logic is a study of arguments, we need to know what exactly are we studying about, right? So if you're talking about like arguments, um we could so what I'll do is sort of I'll give you a working definition, which is like very like broad and not like kind of simplistic, and maybe as we progress we'll sort of modify that initial definition with updated knowledge, so that the definition becomes more and more rigorous over the course of time. So the working definition of an argument is just a set of premises and conclusion. Okay. So it's sort of like a very, very simple, like broad definition of, yeah, or you could say like I'm not sure if I should use the term broad, but it's like a very like basic definition of what an argument is. So an argument simply is a set of premises and a conclusion. And what you need to remember is that these premises and the conclusion, I'll just mark that in a different color. So so all the premises and the conclusion are propositions. Okay. So for instance, if you have like you know some argument, or some ostensible argument, p1 p2 conclusion, something like that, and there's
What
something.
does ostensible mean? You said, sorry.
Oh, ostensible is
No,
like
ostensible.
it's not established that it's an argument yet. It could be an argument.
Okay.
It's presented as an argument, but it's not like it hasn't been established that it's an argument. So it's an ostensible argument.
Cool.
Like maybe it is an argument. So so the ostensible argument will be like something like p1, p2, p3, or whatever, like whatever number of premises, and then you'll have a conclusion, and then there'll be like something like there'll be some proposition written here, there'll be something written here, and then there'll be something written here. The idea is if even one of them is not a proposition, then this entire thing is not an argument. So for example, if I say my name is Appoota, and then I say oh my god, therefore um, I don't know, sky is blue. So This over here is not an argument. Not an argument. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back and do some revision. Um, so what's logic?
So, 1 minute. Let me check my notes. So, logic is. Would it be correct to say it's the study of arguments,
Yeah,
effectively?
yeah. That's the simple definition. Yeah. And what's a
So,
proposition?
so we had propositional logic as the study of arguments. Is there another definition just for logic on
No, no,
itself,
no,
or
no,
is
no.
propositional
So
logic?
it's the set. So study of arguments was logic.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And
propositional
is there,
logic is just like the
yeah,
basic version of logic. So you're just like handling propositions.
so using sentences, statements
Yeah.
to form arguments? And then is there, uh, there's formal logic. Is there a non-formal logic, or however you say
Oh
that?
yeah, and you could have like informal logic. Um, but informal logic basically just is like you do the same thing but without any like symbols or something like that. So you don't have like a system in place of like notation and stuff like that. So everything happens in natural language. So if I say, oh, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is immortal. Um, it's an argument. It's also like, well, you could say that's like more formally put, but I tell you something like, um, I mean, any kind of like regular everyday argument that we uh, give to people for like, oh, maybe you should do this because you like that. Like maybe if you watch um, this movie, if you like this movie, maybe you should watch that movie. Like all of that sort of like is informal because we haven't sort of rigorously put it into like a symbolic form, and we haven't assessed validity and stuff like that. So it's sort of like when you're doing formal logic, we are kind of like having a rigorous system with symbols and stuff in place. But in informal logic, we don't have the symbols. We just have natural language.
So, so informal logic, it still has premises and an argument as well, right?
Yeah, I mean that's how it would be. But there wouldn't be any like symbols or stuff like that.
Okay, so we will see symbols later on then, I'm guessing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
like the fun part. Okay, so yeah, we discussed so logic is a study of arguments. So what's a proposition?
So a proposition is something which can take on a true value, either true or false.
Yeah,
So it can be proven to
yeah,
be true or false.
yeah. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be proven. Like there could be something that can't be proven, but it's still true or false. There are like brute facts, um, but they are still propositions.
Do you have an example?
Not really, but like I mean, I don't have I don't have an example of a brute fact, but you could say it's something like, well, you could take some of the axioms. A line can be drawn through 2 points or something like that. I'm sure there's some proof out there for that, but I'm not sure how I would prove that. Um, but yeah, it's still true or false. It's true, so it's a proposition. It can take on a truth value.
Okay, so these ones are, it's true just because every time it's happened up to now, or So you are going, well, that proposition was a line can be drawn through 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason we know it's true is just because we know it happens, or
Yeah,
every
I mean,
time,
or
right?
it could be like it's just how we are defining 2 points and how we are defining a line. It could be just like an analytic thing, like maybe I just define a line as something that passes through 2 points, um,
Mm.
something like that. It could just be purely analytic. So the point is whether something is a proposition or not does not rest upon whether it can be proven or it can't be proven or whatever.
It's just true. Just better to say if it's true or false.
Yes. So that's the
So,
only
so
like
take
that's the
some truth value.
necessary condition. Yeah.
Okay. You use the term analytic. How do you? What does that mean exactly? So is it like the connection of ideas, or
Oh,
what is
so an
is that?
analytic in the sense that something is true by like just by definition. So for example, if I gave you the proposition bachelors are unmarried men, um, it's a proposition that's just true by definition, like in the sense that bachelors are unmarried man is true because bachelor just means an unmarried man. So you're like finally, if you just swap in the meaning of unmarried man with bachelor, you'll just get the proposition unmarried men are unmarried men. So it's just like it comes down to like a tautology.
Okay. So for example, say you name someone a name, for example, like
Mm-hmm.
say if your parents had called you a different name instead of Apoota, then and then someone said, is that Apoota? How well with your other name? Say they called you, I don't know, um, Ben or something, or Dan, and then they someone said, is that yeah Apoota? Then if that would be false, that would be like analytically false.
Oh, not really. Wait,
Because
what do you mean? Like,
say you name someone something, and
mm-hmm.
then someone asks you a question. So say I don't know my cat. Well, or I don't know. Let me think of an example. Yeah, say my name is Patrick, and then someone asks, "Is your name Is your name Ben?" And I say, "No, my name is not Ben." Would that be analytically false?
It wouldn't be false. Like, it would be true that your name is not Ben.
One minute. Uh, so if someone asks me, I can't remember what I actually said. So say my name is Patrick, and someone asks me, "Is your name
Ben?
Ben?" Then that would be false, right?
No, but it wouldn't be false. Because they aren't
Because my name is
make.
Patrick.
No, no, no. One sec. So it wouldn't be false because they aren't stating a proposition. They're asking a question.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see.
So questions like it doesn't make like it doesn't make sense to say that a question is true or false.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what
Yeah.
the trouble I had there.
Yeah. So yeah, it
So
wouldn't be
yeah,
false because yeah,
questions
they
cannot
aren't
be.
making a proposition. But if they say something like, your name is Ben, instead of saying that, um, your name is like Patrick, right? If they pointed to you and say your name is Ben, um, then would that be analytically false? Yeah, I guess so because like,
I
well,
think that's sort of what I meant, but yeah. No.
yeah,
So
I'm
if
not
someone
too sure about
called
that.
me,
I'll have to think if it's an analytic falsity. I'll get back to you on that. uh, but yeah, I think you get the point that like it could just be like well. Hmm.
yeah, because earlier on when you asked me the question, "How are you?" and I was like, I was close to saying it can be a proposition because I thought like someone can be So the question is, yeah, do you see it?
Yeah,
So
it's
earlier on
just
when
you
you
could
asked
you can
how you
yeah.
out,
Instead of asking, they could tell that you're Ben.
and then, or so someone could say you're feeling bad when in fact I'm feeling good.
Yeah. I guess that would be analytic because it's like you like I mean if like I guess you could have like a definition of what you are and that could contain the name Patrick. So in some sense it could be analytically false. So it would be like Patrick is Ben, and that would be like yeah. It would not be like a yeah. It would entail a contradiction. Um, Assuming they aren't equivocating on what Ben means or whatever. Like yeah, whatever. Yeah. I mean we'll get there. So to like just give you like a short answer, I think I'm leaning in the direction that it would be analytically false. Um, but yeah, I'll get back to you on that. So yeah. Uh, okay, so we talked about what a proposition is. We talked about what logic is. So so logic would be like the study of argument. So what would an argument be? Wait, can you hear me? Oh, wait, did I get kicked out again? Wait, did I get kicked out again? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. This time I think it was my internet rather than my Discord. Uh, okay. I go live again.
Yeah, I think I got what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, questions they cannot have a truth value, but the answer of the question can have a truth value.
Yeah. So I mean, whenever we are answering questions, it's like we are affirming a proposition. So if you ask me, is your name Aputa, and I say yes, I'm actually affirming a proposition that my name is Aputa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what does that mean to affirm a proposition? You're just,
You're
uh,
just
yeah, I don't
affirming
know.
a proposition just means like stating that a proposition is true, or like holding the belief that a
Okay.
proposition is true.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Cool.
So it depends on the question, I guess, as well. Because how are you is it's a bit of a question to is your name. So how are you sort of it's asking a descriptive question, right?
Yeah, that would also, and you would also get a proposition as an answer. So if you ask me like
Yeah,
how are you, and I say I'm good, uh, that's a proposition. Like
I
it,
see.
yeah, it could be true or false that I'm good or I'm not. So like if I say I'm good, that could be true, that could be false. So that's a proposition.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we talked about we talked about propositions. We talked about logic being the study of arguments. So what's an argument? Just as a revision.
Just 1 minute. I can still see your OBS. I don't know if you're doing that intentionally or not,
Oh,
but
wait a second. Is that better?
I can still see where it's underneath. It says start
Oh
streaming,
shit.
start
Okay.
recording.
Yeah. One sec. Uh, now?
Now it is better, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So
So
what
your,
would
your
be
question was,
yeah
what is an argument? An argument is a set of premises and a conclusion.
okay. And what's the like what are the premises and the conclusion, you know, you could say like what's the nature of a premise and a conclusion?
They are all propositions to have a truth value.
Yes, they are all propositions. So yeah, I think we talked about propositions, we talked about arguments, we talked about logic, um, and yeah, I guess I also gave you like an example of what is not an argument. um, so this wouldn't be an argument, but if I
Yeah, because the
change,
P2, yeah.
yes, p2 is not a proposition, but if I just change,
Yeah, it's an exclamation.
yes, if I just change this little bit, okay, so if I just change it to my name is Aputa, I'm 24 years old, therefore the sky is blue, this is an argument. Okay, and
Yeah, everyone is yeah, everyone can have the truth. All of them are propositions.
yes, all of them are propositions. So all of them are propositions, and it's a set of premises and a conclusion. Therefore, this is an argument. Now,
So you gave ticks. So they could be true, they could be false, but the ticks are just to say that they're propositions, right?
yes, they are all propositions. Yes, right? Yeah. So they're all
Yep.
propositions. They could be false. So I can give you like an example of an argument where all the premises are false. Um, so let's say P1. Uh, dogs are ugly. um, I cars. Therefore, um, I don't know. um, Tomatoes are green, or tomatoes are pink. Oh wait, even that's true. Tomatoes are purple, right? So this is false, this is false, and this is also false. But this is a proposition, this is a proposition, and this is a proposition. So
What
this,
about if someone thinks? What about if someone thinks that dogs are so? When, the first one, P1, it seems more something to do. It seems to be an opinion.
yeah,
So someone could think dogs are ugly, right?
yeah. So this proposition would be false or true depending on the person uttering it. So if
Okay.
so when I say dogs are ugly, I'm saying something like um, there I have some aesthetic norms and dogs are, like,
Beautiful.
huh?
So 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 you're saying your aesthetic norms don't match this premise.
Yes,
Sure.
exactly.
So that's why it's false.
Yeah, something like that. So whenever I say, like, when I say beautiful or ugly, it would be something like it is pleasing to look at dogs, or something like that, and if ugly means not pleasing to look at, then it would be false because it is pleasing to look at dogs on my view. um, so this proposition, again, it's indexical. Indexical in the sense that it is sort of indexed to the person uttering it. So there could be somebody
Mm.
who thinks dogs are ugly, and for that person, like, if that person is uttering that statement, it would be true. But it wouldn't be
Yeah.
true when it is indexed to my norms. It could be true indexed to somebody else's norms, but it's false on my norms, something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but the idea is that all of these are false premises, but this still is an argument. I'll just do that in green. So this will be an argument. uh do you want to go a little, do you think it would be enough for today, or do you still want to keep going? Like, I think I can.
It depends. It depends on you, really. If you've got dinner, that's fine. Yeah, we've done quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I can
Depends
do like another
how
10 minutes.
because it's probably pretty late where you are. I think right now it's gonna be close
It's
to
10
almost
p.m.
half 10:30. Yeah,
No,
10
not
p.m. or
really.
10
It's 10, it's
10 p.m.
10 p.m. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess we'll
So
uh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, as you want.
I guess
If
we'll
you
do
think
another
this is a
10
good
minutes, I
point to
guess.
stop. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah. So, yeah, so we're talking about, like, so this is an argument, this is an argument, and this, like, it is an example. So this premise is true, this premise is true, and the conclusion is also true. Okay. So this is also an argument, and this is also an argument. Now, I think it's time to sort of introduce a revision to this definition. So let me ask you this. So that's P1. Let's say P1 is I am Apota, And then instead of having a premise, another premise, I just go straight to the conclusion. Therefore, I am Aputta. What do you think? Is this an argument?
Well, but P1, that's a proposition, and the C, it still seems to be a proposition. I
Okay.
am Aputta. So even though it's repeated, it still seems to be uh, an argument to me, I guess.
Yep. So this is also an argument. And the update we'll make here is that it is a set. An argument is a set of propositions. Okay, I said premises and conclusion. I'm revising it a little bit. I say it it is an argument is a set of propositions, and I'm adding a little caveat such that at least one prop is a premise and at one is a conclusion. Okay, so here we have made revision 1 to the definition of what an argument is. So an argument would be a set of propositions such that there is at least one which is a premise and at least one which is a conclusion. So this would also be an argument.
Got it. Yeah, such that at least one proposition is a premise and at least one is a conclusion.
Yeah. And that just means that in that set you need to have at least two members. So if you have like a set, okay, I'm not sure how familiar you are with set theory, but
No,
okay.
not at all.
But yeah, so basically a set is a collection of objects, right? So in this collection of objects there are at least two objects. Okay,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say P1 and P2. I would say A and B. Okay, so there are two elements in this set, and at least one is a premise and at least one is a conclusion. Okay, so that's sort of how we are visualizing what an argument is. It's a set of propositions such that at least one is a premise and at least one is a conclusion. You could have more premises, you could have more conclusions, but all that would be an argument. I'll just leave it there. Okay. Uh, okay. Now, I guess I'll tell you this one bit and then we can probably stop. But the idea is we have propositions. So we know that whenever we are talking about arguments, we are talking about propositions. And within
Yeah.
propositional logic, what we do is we it's kind of like, it's kind of tedious to, like, especially if the proposition is really long, it's kind of tedious to keep writing the entire proposition every single time. So if I give you like an argument, if my hat is black and if my jeans are blue, then I am a really cool guy. My hat is black and my jeans are blue, therefore I'm a really cool guy. Some like it's a sort of like a long proposition. So what we do, instead of writing out the proposition every single time, we just define each proposition. We just like sort not define. Yeah, you could just say that I assign a letter to a proposition. So you could say, generally, it's sort of like convention. We usually start with P, but there's like you could just use any letter. Um, so you have like some proposition, like any given proposition. It could be like my hat is black, or it could be my jeans are blue, and then I'm like, I am a cool guy, right? So what I can just do is I can just assign them to this letter, and wherever I see this letter, I just assume that it means this. Okay, and these letters, they're called propositional variables. And the reason they're called variables is for the same reason, like x is a variable. Like if you remember algebra from school, um, anytime you see like, oh, solve for x, so x is a variable. It can take on multiple values. X could be 1, x could be 2, x could be 3, but it can't be both of them at the same time. Like x can't be 3 and 2, right? uh, it has to be either 3 or 2 or something like that. um, if x is like, if x can only take on one single value at a time. So if x is a unary variable, it can only take on one value. If x is a binary variable, um, it could, wait one sec, if there are way more than one possible, so let's say something like um, h, okay, and h is a variable. I should probably write it in lower caps. Let's say h is a variable, and this variable is sort of like, it means the species to which I belong to, and there's only one possible value. So h will be always human, right? So h is a variable, but in maths you generally have like um, x equal to 1, y equal to 2, and then you have like equations x plus y equal to 3, and then you can solve for what x and y are. So like even if I don't give you the value of x, and I ask you what's the value of x, you can solve for the value of y by just like performing some operations. So
Yeah.
x is just a variable. The point is x is a variable. Just like how we have variables in maths, we have variables in logic. So p, q, r, these are basically, they are representing some proposition. And then what we have, I should use white. So we have propositional variables, and then we have operators. So in logic we have symbols to um, represent certain, motifs that appear in language. So for example, not. So this is the negation symbol. This is the conjunction, this is the disjunction, this is the implication, this is the biconditional. We'll talk about that in the next class. But the idea is these are all operations that we can perform, and these are analogous to like what we have in math: plus, minus, um, division, multiplication. So these are like sort of so these are all arithmetic operators. Like we apply them in the context of math, and these operators are what we apply in the context of propositional logic. So these are all logical operators, and that's where we'll start next time.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, we covered quite a bit today. So
Yep.
thanks for that. It was good fun. You're a good teacher. Explain things very nice and slowly.
Yep. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Yeah, because you see these symbols a lot on social media, on Twitter.
Yep.
Nutrivore, he uses them a lot to formulate arguments.
Yeah.
And I found it always interesting
Yeah.
how he just he must have a software, right? Or how does he generate these where
Oh, these
or
symbols.
do you do that as well?
Yeah.
Where he then
So, I am actually right now I'm on Linux. So I have like so I have something that does it. So for example, um, I can generate the symbols like this. Oh wait, hold on. Let me just get rid of this. Um, Excel. I can just get these symbols. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I can get these symbols like this is the negation, um, this is the conjunction, um, this is the disjunction, and this is the implication, this is the biconditional, and then I also have some first order logic symbols. um, this is for all, and then I have like this one. I have therefore. So yeah, I mean, you can either like sort of program your keyboard to have these symbols. I think Ask Yourself has like a logic and math script that does it. And there are a lot more symbols than these on that. Or you could just sort of have them, um, you know, you can have them on a notepad and copy paste them. Another thing that you can do is you can just use the symbols that we have on a keyboard. Like for example, you can use this for negation, you can use this for conjunction, you can use a regular V for disjunction, you can use so this is negation, conjunction, disjunction, and then you can put a dot and an arrow, or like a two-sided uh, you can do that too. But I mean, I sort of like I have an aesthetic version to this, so I just like have my keyboard set up that way. Or you could just copy paste from somewhere. You can just Google these symbols on Google and you'll get the Unicode.
okay, because I thought maybe there's somewhere where you write it in words and it generates automatically an argument for you using variables and the operators, but
Oh
have you
no,
found something like this? No,
not really. But I don't think it will be very hard to code a Python code for that.
because I think somewhere one of Nutritroll's video I saw him sometime using some software or something where he was writing it out. But yeah, I cannot remember.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of a software like that, but it's kind of like easy to just do this.
Yeah, just do it in the notepad or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I
All right
guess
then.
that should be good for today.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know when you want to see each other again. Thursday, if you're free.
Yeah, Thursday should be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same time, right?
Yeah,
And
same time. Yeah.
are you during the day? Are you working or studying?
I'm doing my PhD, so it's sort of a mix of both. Like I have to do some work, I have to do some studying. Like it's mostly doing research, but studying is sort of part of research. Like when you're doing research, you gotta study for, um,
Yeah, yeah.
study the concept and stuff like that. Um,
Cool.
Sometimes I have to like do some like sort of like take teaching practical classes and stuff like that. So that's also kind of work. So yeah, it's a mix of both.
Well, next time you can tell me a little bit more about what you study and stuff.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
let you go have
absolutely.
dinner now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
won't take. But yeah, we'll stay in touch then.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll refresh myself tomorrow with what we learned today.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, look
Absolutely.
forward to the next lesson.
Yep. I'll actually send you some exercises up till the point that we have covered right now, so that you kind of have like an have some practice.
Great. Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anything in the book? Any recommended reading from the book yet, or not
Not
too much?
not yet. I'll tell you. Right now we don't really need to do that. But yeah, maybe after the next class I'll have you go through some of the problems and um, maybe solve some of the problems given in the book, and then we can discuss those.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right then.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm
Yep.
really chuffed. Yeah, it's cool
Yep.
to learn something new.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Take care. All right, and
Take care.
enjoy
Yeah.
your dinner
Yep.
and
Thank you.
take care. See you on Thursday.
Yep. See
Bye.
you. Yeah. Bye bye.